All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive here on the Detox Health YouTube channel.
Hey.
If you're looking for more ways to live your healthiest life, you are in the right place.
Yes, you are.
We have got a really great deep dive for you all today.
Absolutely.
As always, I'm joined by Chelsea, our nutrition expert.
Hey.
Honestly, your knowledge of just food and how it impacts the body,
Oh my gosh.
it could fill volumes. I mean, it's like an encyclopedia.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to be diving into something I think that is very relatable to pretty much everybody listening, and that is sleep.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at which foods can actually help you get a better night's rest.
Yes.
We're going to be referencing some solid scientific research and traditional wisdom, looking at sources like sleepfoundation.org and medicalnewstoday.com.
Excellent resources.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of this, you'll walk away with some actionable insights into dietary choices that could positively influence your sleep. Awesome. All right, so, I'm sure many of you listening have had those nights where you just toss and turn and can't seem to fall asleep, or maybe you wake up in the middle of the night
Oh, yeah.
and can't get back to sleep.
Absolutely.
Have you ever noticed in your own life that what you eat seems to have some kind of impact on your sleep or your energy levels?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you have a really big meal and you're just ready for a nap afterwards, right?
totally, totally.
Or if you have a big sugary snack late at night and you're just up tossing and turning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely a connection.
So what is it about food that can affect our sleep? What's actually going on in our bodies?
So that's a really great question. And it is an area of a lot of research. And it's actually really complex because there's so many factors involved,
Right.
and everybody's individual, a little bit different. So there are some general things that we can look at.
Yeah.
But, just to keep in mind, what works for one person may not work for another. But the research is really interesting because there are certain foods that have nutrients that can actually impact those processes that help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the specifics here.
Yeah, let's do it.
What are some of these sleep-promoting foods?
Okay, so let's start with a really interesting one. It's kiwi fruit.
Kiwis.
Kiwis,
Yeah, I love kiwi fruit.
they're delicious.
I just
Yeah,
eat
it's
the
raw.
skin and all.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love that fuzzy skin.
Like a little healthy snack.
It's so good.
Yeah, what about kiwi, though, makes it so good for sleep?
Okay, well, first of all, they're full of nutrients like vitamin C and E, potassium, and folate.
Oh.
But there's this really interesting study, and they found that people who ate 2 kiwis an hour before bed, they actually fell asleep faster,
Really?
slept longer, and they reported having better quality sleep.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, just from eating a couple of kiwis.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so researchers have been looking at why this might be,
Yeah, why?
and there are a few theories. One thought is that it could be the antioxidants in kiwis,
Okay.
because antioxidants help to reduce inflammation in the body, and inflammation can sometimes interfere with sleep.
Gotcha.
Another possibility is that kiwis are a good source of folate, and some people have folate deficiencies,
Okay.
and that can also affect sleep. And then another thing is that kiwis have a decent amount of serotonin.
Okay.
And, serotonin is a neurotransmitter that's involved in mood,
Right.
and it also plays a role in sleep.
Wow, so it's like a triple whammy.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so what about another food that's often associated with sleep? Tart cherries?
Yes, tart cherries.
Okay.
So we're talking about specific varieties here, like Richmond and Montmorency cherries.
Okay.
And they're often sold as juice.
Oh.
And there's been quite a bit of research on tart cherry juice and sleep.
Oh, wow.
One study found that people with insomnia who drank 2 cups of tart cherry juice every day, they actually slept longer,
Oh, wow.
and they had better sleep efficiency.
Okay, what is sleep efficiency?
So sleep efficiency is basically the amount of time you spend asleep
Okay.
compared to the total amount of time you spend in bed.
Oh, okay. So, like,
Right.
if you're in bed for 8 hours, but you only sleep for 6,
Right.
that's not very efficient.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so tart cherries can help with that.
Yeah, it seems like they can. So why are they so special?
Yeah. Why?
Well, tart cherries are a natural source of melatonin.
Okay.
And melatonin is that hormone that helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. It's like your body's natural sleep signal.
Okay.
And like kiwis, tart cherries also have antioxidants.
Yeah.
Which, as we said, may be helpful for sleep.
Gotcha. That's really interesting. All right, so we've talked about kiwis, we've talked about tart cherry. What about something that might be a little bit more of a comfort food? I'm thinking malted milk.
Oh, yeah. Malted milk.
Yeah, like a warm glass of malted milk before bed.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic bedtime drink.
Right. What do you know about that?
So it's made with milk, and then there's this powder that has wheat flour malted, wheat malted barley sugar,
Okay.
and then usually some added vitamins and minerals.
Okay.
And there have been some smaller studies suggesting that malted milk before bed can actually help reduce sleep interruptions throughout the night.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it might help you stay asleep.
Okay, what is it about malted milk that could be beneficial?
Well, it has those B vitamins and vitamin D,
Okay.
and it also has minerals like phosphorus, zinc, and magnesium.
Hmm.
And those nutrients are thought to maybe have a calming effect
Gotcha.
that can help you fall asleep. And then milk itself actually contains some melatonin naturally.
Really?
And there's even something called night milk.
Night milk.
I know it sounds funny,
Yeah.
but it's milk that's collected from cows that are milked at night.
Oh, wow.
And it has even higher levels of melatonin.
Wow, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. All right, so we've talked about a few things that are kind of like lighter snacks or drinks.
Yeah.
What about something a little more substantial?
Oh, okay.
Like, what about fatty fish?
Yes. Fatty fish are excellent for sleep.
Okay, what kind of fish are we talking about?
So things like salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines,
Okay, yeah.
those are all really good sources of omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a study that found that people who ate salmon 3 times a week had better sleep quality.
Great.
And they also function better during the day.
So it's not just about sleeping better. It's also about feeling more alert and awake during the day.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
That's awesome. All right, so what is it about fatty fish that gives it these sleep-promoting properties?
So omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D are thought to be involved in the production and regulation of serotonin.
Okay.
And remember, serotonin is that neurotransmitter that's involved in sleep.
Right.
And the researchers of that study, they actually pointed out that this could be especially helpful during the winter,
Oh, interesting. Why winter?
when there's less sunlight and people tend to have lower vitamin D levels.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on from fatty fish, what about nuts?
Oh, yes. Nuts are a great option, too.
Okay, so like what, almonds, walnuts, things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they contain melatonin.
All right.
They also have omega-3s, magnesium, zinc.
Wow, that's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they're little powerhouses.
Yeah.
And there was a clinical trial where they gave older adults with insomnia melatonin, magnesium, and zinc supplements.
Okay.
And they found that it actually helped them sleep longer and more deeply.
Interesting. Are there any nuts that are especially good for sleep?
Almonds are a great choice because they have melatonin, magnesium, and calcium. And all of those can help relax your muscles,
Okay, yeah.
which is good for sleep. And then walnuts are another good one. They contain melatonin, serotonin, magnesium, potassium, folate, calcium.
Wow, it's like the whole package.
They're a good source of a lot of nutrients.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered some fruits, some nuts. What about something a little more basic like rice?
Rice, yeah. So you might not think of rice as a sleep-promoting food,
Right.
but there was this study in Japan, and they found that people who ate rice regularly had better sleep quality compared to those who ate bread or noodles.
Interesting.
Now, this was an observational study, so it doesn't prove cause and effect,
Okay.
but it is interesting, and it actually supports some older research that suggests eating foods with a higher glycemic index about 4 hours before bed
Okay.
might actually help you fall asleep faster.
Now, that's a little bit surprising because I feel like a lot of times you hear about people saying don't eat carbs before bed.
Right, and that's because simple carbs like sugary drinks and sweets,
Okay.
they're actually linked to worse sleep.
Gotcha.
So it's not all carbs that are bad before bed.
So it's more about like the type of carbs.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So the thinking is that when you eat protein, which contains tryptophan,
Okay.
and you eat it with carbs,
Uh-huh.
the carbs actually help the tryptophan get into your brain.
Oh, wow. How does that work?
So when you eat carbs, your body releases insulin. And insulin helps clear other amino acids from your bloodstream
Mm-hmm.
so that the tryptophan can get into the brain more easily.
Oh, that is fascinating. So it's like a little teamwork situation.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we've got rice. What about warm milk?
Mm.
I feel like that's like the classic.
The ultimate classic, right?
Yeah, my mom would always tell me to drink warm milk before bed if I was having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, it's a common remedy. And there is some science behind it.
Okay, what is the science?
So milk has tryptophan.
Okay.
It also has calcium and vitamin D
Mm.
and a little bit of melatonin.
Okay.
But honestly, a lot of it might just be the ritual.
Yeah.
The warmth of the milk and that feeling of comfort
Totally.
can be really helpful for sleep.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of warm drinks, what about chamomile tea?
Ah, chamomile tea. That's
Yeah.
another great one. It's been used for insomnia for a really long time.
Mm.
And there's a compound in chamomile called apigenin.
Okay.
And apigenin may actually activate these receptors in your brain called GABA receptors.
Hmm.
And those receptors are involved in calming nerve activity and promoting sleep.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, it could be the apigenin, but it also could just be that warmth and that relaxation ritual.
Gotcha. Okay, now here's one I've heard of, but I don't know much about in relation to sleep: barley grass powder.
Oh yeah, barley grass powder.
Yeah.
It's packed with nutrients that are good for sleep.
Oh, really? Like what?
It has GABA, it has calcium, tryptophan, zinc, potassium, magnesium.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really nutrient-dense food. And some research suggests that it might not only help you sleep, but it may also help prevent some other health conditions.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. All right. And then lastly, let's talk about lettuce.
Lettuce.
Yeah, I would not think of lettuce as something that could help you sleep.
I know it sounds kind of strange,
Yeah.
but there's actually some evidence that lettuce and even lettuce seed oil could have a mild sedative effect.
Really?
Yeah, so scientists think that there's this compound in lettuce called lactucin, and it's found in a specific part of the lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
And studies on mice have shown that this fraction of lettuce can increase sleep duration
Mm-hmm.
and decrease sleep latency, which is basically how long it takes you to fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's also some early research suggesting that it might protect against inflammation that
Yeah.
can happen when you have sleep disturbances.
Wow. So lettuce is kind of a secret weapon.
It could be.
Yeah, that's really interesting. All right. So we've talked about all these individual food, but I think it's important for us to zoom out a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about the bigger picture of diet and sleep.
Absolutely. So while these individual foods can be helpful for sleep,
Okay.
it's really important to focus on your overall diet.
Mm-hmm.
What you eat throughout the day is going to have a bigger impact
Okay.
than just what you eat right before bed.
Gotcha. So what should people be focusing on in terms of their overall diet?
So a balanced diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables
Okay.
is really important. You know, things like the Mediterranean diet, which is high in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats.
Mm,
That type of diet has been linked to better sleep quality.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So are there any general guidelines that people should follow when it comes to food and drink and sleep?
Yeah, so definitely try to limit your caffeine intake, especially in the afternoon and evening.
Okay.
Caffeine can stay in your system for several hours, and it
Mhm.
can really interfere with sleep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, what about alcohol?
So alcohol can actually make you feel sleepy at first,
Okay.
but it can disrupt your sleep later in the night.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's best to avoid alcohol within 4 hours of bedtime.
Gotcha. All right. And then what about eating late at night?
So eating a big meal right before bed can also disrupt your sleep.
Okay, why is that?
It can cause indigestion, heartburn, and it can just make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So try to avoid large meals, especially those that are high in fat or spicy foods,
Gotcha.
close to bedtime.
Okay, that'll make sense now. I think it's also really important to connect all of this to sleep hygiene.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's one thing to eat the right foods,
Yeah.
but if your sleep environment is not good or you have bad sleep habits,
That's right.
it's not going to matter as much.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
you can eat all the sleep-promoting foods in the world,
Yeah.
but if you're sleeping in a noisy, bright room,
Uh-huh.
or you're using electronics right before bed,
Right.
you're probably not going to sleep well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So can you just give us a quick rundown of what good sleep hygiene looks like?
Yeah, so basically you want to make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Okay.
You want to try to go to bed and wake up around the same time every day,
Yeah.
even on weekends.
Yeah, that's tough, but it's so important.
It is. And then you want to avoid screen time for at least an hour before bed.
Right.
That blue light from your phone or your computer can really suppress melatonin production.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Hmm.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today. What are some of the key takeaways that you would want people to remember from this?
So the main takeaway is that there are certain foods that contain compounds that can help support sleep.
Okay.
Things like melatonin, tryptophan, magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
Some good examples are kiwis, tart cherries, nuts, fatty fish, warm milk.
Okay.
But it's really important to remember that it's not just about these individual foods.
Yeah.
It's about your overall diet.
Okay.
And it's about practicing good sleep hygiene.
Right, it's all connected.
Exactly.
Well, this has been so informative. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And for those of you watching, if you're enjoying this deep dive, please hit that like button.
Yes,
It really helps us out.
it does.
So as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with a thought to consider, we've talked about how food can impact our sleep,
Yeah.
but think about how making even small changes to your diet, combined with better sleep habits, could lead to some pretty significant improvements in your overall well-being and your energy levels.
Absolutely.
It's all about making those little tweaks and seeing how they can make a big difference.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us for this deep dive into food and sleep.
Thanks for having me.
If you found this information valuable and you're eager to learn more about health and wellness,
Yes.
please do subscribe to the Detox Health YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more great content coming your way.
We do.
Until our next deep dive,
Bye.
I wish you all restful nights and energized days.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.